Welcome to episode, what is this, 88 of the Corey Shepherd podcast. Every Tuesday this podcast is released, thereabout. But this week was Carnival week. So I decided I ain't releasing no episode Tuesday till I see everything that Carnival had to offer. And one of the things that Carnival had to offer that I remember last year, I ended up having to cover a week late, was a band by the name of Yuma Vibe. You know them? As I ended up talking about that thing a week later, I didn't like it, I was uncomfortable last year because Yuma do something where they bring the foundation artists, the legends, together with the young legends, and they do the performances. Don't you remember me talking about that? I hope you watched that from last year. So I say, all right, Yuma come in Carnival Tuesday, it's still at Rhythm Nation and plenty things to cover. I say, you know what, I would delay this week. I don't like to delay, I like to come out every Tuesday. But only Yuma ain't let me down. You have to take a couple hours. I think it's about 2 hours and 17 minutes. If you're a lover of this culture, I want you to take that 2 hours and 17 minutes and take in Yuma. Get some nice to drink. Make it a mood, Because it's a vibe. And walk with your napkin and then what you call them little thing, Kleenex? Walk with that. Because as I'm starting to record this, I now finish listening to that thing. So if you find a song in nasal, let me put you in tears like how the thing put me in tears now. They put me in tears about 3-4 times through, and this is the opening.
See every carnival time, you don't have be nice and temperature then rise. If you leave me a good time, I swear you are like the oxygen I need to survive. I'll be honest. You know the road is calling me. I am so obsessed.
Yes.
But all I'm left with is a memory. Monday, I see we getting on the street. Tuesday, enough pretty girl and repeat. Wednesday, everybody head to the beach. It's so can make me jump and sing. Oh, ah. Oh Lord. Yeah. This is a carnival memory. One time, in the air. $10,000 I go spend for a fete. Talk all they want, I don't care what is said. It don't matter. I fed up and winding up in my bed every night. Sweet talk I keep on playing in my head. Oh no, I can't stay up no more. I will go and brainwash and wine, lo. We could go by chance, take a dance, never know. And then up flying superhumans on the road and no. Ule, COVID take an even from we. Ule. 2 years now, I ain't see Ule. No pan, no mass, no party. No celebrations in the country. Just sing with me. One time.
Yeah, now from beginning to end, I'm in tears. That is the voice of Pretty Urfanals and the hands of Junior Regrello. Listen, from the opening of that show, when you think of the idea that they don't have a carnival, the thing don't exist, and they couldn't pick a better song to open it with than this, because we have plenty carnival activities to talk about. Some above board and some not so much above board. But I want to start by saluting Yuma. Because Yuma put on a show here now. I don't want to hijack the people's whole program. I want to salute the director, Sean Burnett, to Tanya Gomes, and the director, Acacia Victory Devatile, for some permission to be able to use a little clip from the show. But more so for their dedication to this, because it seemed like it's a clear thread in the Yuma band to make this a thing. And I hope that when Carnival go back to what we know Carnival to be, because that is busy time for them. They're going to be busy. They'll be extra bored with a bunch of different events and street parade and all that. But I hope that they find a way to put this into the calendar. And this is the type of show, along with several others that we'll talk about today, this is the type of show that I feel we need to do as a roving show. So when you have a show like this and you package something like this together, that can't do once. You know what I mean? That is not a one-off kind of show. And that's not a because we have COVID kind of show. Because listen, the quality of the show, the production, the flow of it, the amount of people they pay respect to during the course of the show. That's something that we should do in Madison Square Garden, in Carnegie Hall is wherever one in London, Wembley, somewhere in London. You know, we had to move that show all over the place so that people understand what we're about and who we are. Because soon after that, I will get through this segment and I will get through this without crying in real life. Soon after that, they brought on the legends, Carl and Carol Jacobs. For what I thought was a little interview, I heard them talk for a few minutes because I was watching the time in the show. The show is 2 hours and something, and I want to hear Carl and Carol talk for about 2 hours, and I see a short little clip of them talking, and just seeing 2 of them together, it's meaningful for anybody who's a lover of the culture. And they ask them some good little questions too, like, you know, what were some of their favorite moments? And when they talk about Chandelier, where Carl himself, I would have never known this, but Carl setting up and stringing up the whole band. Wait by the venue, because if you remember what bands was like long time, song check might be in the morning. So you set up that band, song check, wait the whole day, and then you perform. And when the performance done now, and if it's Chandelier, you performing down in the last, Chandelier no open. So when you performing there now, you had to wait for other bands. Let me say you perform second to last. Your Roots and Songriff coming after you, let me say. You had to wait for them 2 bands to finish now and then start a breakdown. So salute to 2 of them as legends in the culture. And I, of course, would be biased if you listen to this podcast long enough, you know I bias, but I do feel our legends get enough respect, get enough put up, get enough flowers. And Yuma clearly on a mission to do this, and I'm supporting that mission in any way that I could. Number 1, I ain't playing in no next band. I'm Yuma for life. Anytime they see me, tell her old and grey are going to be on the road with Yuma. So when I saw that little interview, I enjoy it and I enjoy hearing from them, but they package the thing so well and it flows so well. Especially, I don't know if the YouTube version edited down to cut out any lag, but if they're doing that in real life, then they deserve even more flowers. But I see Carl and Carol come on stage now with Trini Jacobs and going through some of the hits. When you see 2 of them, I would have never get to see Carl and Carol perform Savage together. Oh, I know one of my favorites who is the road and somebody so and love up. I feel like I'll play all them songs in this thing, you know, but to see 2 of them on stage singing that. And I knew from performing in when we had a show in, that's Ken Kobe and friends, right? We had a show in Kaiso Blues. And I knew from being around him and talking to him. And you know, funny enough, when we had that show in Kaiso Blues, he was the one setting up, pulling all the chords, setting up all the mics, so you could see it's something that he accustomed doing. But no, his voice didn't have the same amount of power it had back in the day. But he had Trini Jacobs, the daughter, with them performing the song and going through it. And just watching them perform them things and watching her on stage with them, she's a legend in her own right too. Young, you might say she young when she stand up next to 2 of them, but she do a lot in this industry too, and you know, in her own journey. But watching 2 of them on stage going through that song and she being there with them was, if that wasn't special enough, them men bring Swappy on, boy. And I don't know, something about seeing the youths, I call Swappy a youth, Swappy's a veteran too, but something with seeing the different eras come together is the best thing for me in Carnival. I don't understand why we don't do more of it. It's something that I talk about all the time. You know, as an idea I want to throw there for free for everybody that I find we should do. And I really got this feeling from passing by with a band on the road. I can't remember who I was playing mass with that year. Can't be fantasy back in the day. And passing by Etienne and them truck they were on the next street. So it would be Etienne Charles along with Marissa Kagan and them on their truck, and they were playing old, not my kind of old Kaiso where it was slow and them thing, but they was playing older soca. Let me put it that way, right? They was playing some of the minted stuff, the gilded collection, as David Rudder had said. And I strayed from the band a little bit and went into that, and the feeling that I get from that. Remember I was telling you all, when Voice singing over Brooklyn Woman, or a version of Brooklyn Woman this year, I see how people react to that everywhere. Little backyard lime that I went, little backyard fete that I went, plus all the shows that I see online. People reacting to that, young people reacting to that, and they don't know that they already know that song. They already know that melody. That melody of Brooklyn Woman is in your DNA. You cannot escape it. So when you see you fuse the young with the minted, the young with the people who seasoned and who been out there and with the legends, the connection to it for Trinbagonians, it's going to be visceral. And I saw it last year with Yuma show when I see they had a little bit of a merger with the artists. So I remember in particular Ding Dong being with Iwer. That's the one that stand out in my memory the most. But you had to remember who Iwer is and what Iwer been through. Iwer first big song was in the 80s. So to see him come out with somebody with like Ding Dong, who first hit would have been within the last 5 years, let me say. Not to say taking nothing from him, but there's something special about that. And Yuma seems to want to be honoring that tradition and holding that up. And what I like to see the most, right, when Swappy came on, he didn't just sing the song. But when you look at it, because I know when you're done with this, or before this, you could cut this off now and go and watch that show. Come back and check this after. But when you see it, you will see a certain amount of reverence that Swappy have for somebody like Carl Jacobs. The way he acknowledged him on the stage. The way he went to Carl Jacobs and he said, mother. Them things I don't take lightly, because, and I have an argument about youth to get to in this podcast too, because I remember when Swappy first came out, how that is not soca people that was talking a whole lot, but that is not soca, and what is that? And they do. I'm begging all you to leave youths, let them grow, because now Swappy going into veteran stage in his own right. And you could see the respect that he have for the culture and the tradition. Remember, we were talking about it last year when he do over. Was it last year he do over the Baron? Feeling it? It had to be the year before. Or the year before that. But when you see him taking songs that boom bele, or that clearly channeling Shadow, or taking a song from Baron and doing it justice, you know that something happening. Even if you come out, let me say you come out the first time and you don't like Kaiso and you don't like soca, that done in your DNA. And I think in a strange way, that's what you were trying to show us. And I ain't saying trying now. That's what you were showing us. Because these things in our DNA, we cannot escape it. So no matter how much you try to change it or you try to go away from what it is is you. How is it possible to change it? You're running there, you can't run away from yourself. So if we give our youths enough time to develop and grow, we're not going to be displeased with the place they end up in, And I will talk about Young Brother in a little while when we talk about that, because we're not going to be unhappy with the place that they end up in. So when I see Swappy go and he say mother and he delivered the song in beautifully, and the whole performance, it was excellent, top notch. So I tell myself I done cry, right? I tell myself I done cry, and I message I say, all you doing medicine, I'm going to stop this now. Let me go and record what I have to record and get out of here. As it go on further, more and more performances, Nival Chitla, so he different. Salute to Nival Chitla. His level of performance and voice control and just stage presence and everything, he is a beast in his own right. But fast forward all that and you get past that, and you don't fast forward it, you watch all of it because it's excellent, it's top notch. But they went into, what do you want to call that? A dedication, a tribute, you know what I mean? For Destra. With Destra sitting in the audience there. Now, at this time, I thought these things is be pre-planned, right? So I tell myself, well, if they have a tribute to Destra, it had to be that Destra involved. So you know when you're bringing somebody on stage, you have to make sure they're looking good and they know what happening. Like, suppose Destra come there with a head wrap and a leggings and a slipper, you know what I mean? So I always thinking these things are pre-planned, but of course Destra not gonna come out nowhere. So, and by the time they went through the dedication, starting with Nival Chitla, who did Carnival and TNT, And the other artists, Pretty came out, and Fanals came back out, and they did some of Destro songs, which I've been talking about this here, right? And I hope that's something that Yuma continues. I hope we just see more and more and more of this, and not just for people like Destro, but for people posthumously as well. I wish we could see more of this. Where for this carnival, one of the things you will notice, right, is the carnival was not packed up with a whole bunch of competitions that may or may not put artists against one another, or may or may not put pan sides against one another. But what we had was a showcase. So maybe what we need going forward is a Taste of Carnival right through, because a Taste of Carnival bring forth a kind of unity where I see Exodus diehards talking about other bands and how well they play and them kind of thing. We don't really do that too much, you know. And maybe it's the competition. I'm not sure where I stand on competition. I'm just saying that without competition, this carnival, we saw a certain amount of celebration, both of what we have now and what we have always had. And so when that dedication was done on Destro, well, Destro was clearly in some tears, right? I don't care him see so well, but I know Destro was crying with me too, you know what I mean? And only to find out that she didn't expect it. She didn't know they were doing that kind of a tribute. And I saw Tanya Gomes go up on stage and deliver a speech to her and give her an award. We need those types of awards to remain as part of the culture, because this is not the NBA. This is not the NFL. We cannot afford for people like Destro to end up like Charles Barkley, who is a legend but never had a trophy. We can't afford that in our culture. Our little country too small. What we have is too precious and too meaningful to us. You see it this year with the Juve, how they couldn't hold it back. If you never know the story of Cambule and Captain Baker, you see it for yourself during this carnival here, where it's an authority could tell you that carnival not going to happen. And the authority could come and say it have a taste, but we go determine what the taste is and what we have the taste for. That cannot happen. We know that from our history, right? We cover that. So seeing Destro on stage there collecting an award, it meant a lot to me. The way I see Destro hold on to that award, those things mean a lot to our artists. We cannot take these things for granted anymore. We at a stage now where I see Calypso Rose putting up something saying she cancelling some dates and stuff because she not feeling well. She's a legend and she continuing to battle. And I hear Carol Jacobs say she's 68 in this thing. Keep these things in mind. Eh? Remember that at some point, somebody go have to do that for Swappy. Swappy go be 68 and he go have a big catalog and impact many lives and change the culture and change the music. Somebody will be doing that for him. So it's up to us now to do this for our legends, or whatever age they're at, or posthumously are saying as well. So I saw Destro come up there emotional. Listen, emotional throughout the whole speech. They handed it. Then Alison Hines come out with flowers and is more emotional. I know here now. I want to see, apart from I want to see Destro broke loose. Eh? And I feel Destro wanted to broke loose too. Eh? Destro said Lucy come out. She went into performance mode. But I think it was really, really nice that she was able to come up there and collect her award. Not to come up there to perform necessarily or to do anything. We're just here because we love you. And we want to show you that we love you physically with something that you could have. So when you reach 68 and I bring you back to sing song and them kind of thing, I want you to remember this moment that and the fact that your whole culture not taking for granted what you did. Your whole culture, we love you. It does not matter if you win Monarch, if you win Road March. It don't matter about any of them things. No matter where you win, lose, or draw. You come from us, and we love you. And I say that too. I'm joining Yuma to say Destro is absolutely legendary, and we love Destro for what she has done for our culture and continuing to do for our culture. And the more and more time passes, the more regal. You ever notice it? You ever notice how regal she is everywhere? People can say what they want, but she have a presence with her that is hard to match. And of course, the catalog behind it as well. So I want you to imagine, because we have a way, and I do it a lot too. When you're young and they have people who older, you think they was always old, you know, like when we listen to, you look at Kitchener, Shadow, Sparrow, Calypso Rose. Some of us in our generation, we thought they was always old. So I listening to talking to somebody the other day and was listening to some old, you know, me and old Kaiso, and playing our old Kitchener. And when you look back at the age Kitchener was at that time, man, in his 20s or 30s, you know, in your mind, Kitchener was always 60-something when he was singing these songs, and that is not the case. So we always have to keep in mind that while these are our artists and our legends and the people who we fed to and grew up with, at some point, people are going to be watching them at 68, 69, 70 years old, we myself, and we will be eternally grateful for somebody or the people, or even look at the people who run in Yuma now, the names I called earlier. We're going to be 69 and 70 something too. And we ain't going to be able to keep up with our pace of shows like this. And the most we could do is set the tone for it. So that somebody further down the road come and say, hey, we had to honor the people who was in charge of Yuma. I just want to put out there that Stefan Monta is a Fatima man, right? Let's not forget these things. Within all the tears, I want to say rest in peace to the legend Stefan Monta. And I just wanted to be known that he's a Fatima man. Just in case we didn't know, I want to reiterate this, right? But when we reach that age, it would be so nice for somebody to come and say, listen, we want to honor Stefan Monta as somebody who come out with a concept and a band and a whole movement. You know what I mean? That we could think, well, I want to take somebody like Dean Akin and honor him for what he has contributed and so on and so on. We need that. And of course, Irfan Alves, because while we might watch Irfan Alves as a young fellow, or who's our next young person I could talk about? Young brother, my favorite young artist, right? Imagine there will be one day when somebody paying tribute to him for his contribution to the culture, and he come up there well grey with a nice little grey ras and them kind of thing. We need that continuity. And I think that's why I have no regrets about delaying that episode Tuesday to come and take in Yuma first so I could talk about that, because Yuma making an investment in that continuity. Because Irfan Alves, Ding Dong, who's the younger people who was there as well, Pretty, and them men doing a good job at it already, Junior Regrello, Nival Chetlal, they will not forget as youths. They won't forget these moments and these times and these events and these awards. They're not going to forget it. So there's going to be a time when the men in their 40s and they're responsible for the continuity. They are the bridge. They are the bridge between the older ones like myself and the younger ones who are up and coming. And they will be able to say, hey, yes, but this artist, we have to make sure that this person good. We have to make sure that this person recognized. We have to make sure that this band is still held in. You know, the bands might change. You know, it's like when there are times where we grow up with our Barbarossa and the bands evolve, they don't die. But somebody else could come back and say, listen, we have to honor Ronnie and Caro. Not just for what they would have done or Ronnie would have done in the music, but for how they change mass and the way they present themselves and the way we had to honor some people just because of the way they age within the culture and continue to set a tone for those of us who not even here yet. So again, I want to salute to Yuma and everybody involved in doing this show. And please, if only could find a way to do this show, not just locally but abroad, but also outside of Carnival, because in the middle of August you put on a show like this. Oh my God. But I mean, you know, we as patrons too, we can't talk about all this and me ain't gonna win. I'm not a young man, all I had to work with me. Because my plan was to go, I said, well, all right, I'll go Rhythm Nation one night, taking that. And then I'll go Yuma the next night and taking that. And then I have content for this Thursday morning edition of the Corey Shepherd podcast, but it never happened. I'm not a young man. You see the way my knees and my back and things set up, leaving home, this be a lot harder than anticipated sometimes. But salute to everybody involved. What else they had during the course of this carnival? They have a few events that I want to talk about, you know. Now, another, as we done on, no, I probably using the word Junior Regrello and Joshua interchange. I'm not a young man, right? Keep this in mind. I'm not a young man. I've said the words Junior Regrello way more times than I say Joshua. So if I was saying Junior before, I don't know what I was saying. But Joshua Regrello, I should have just said the Pan Man, and that would make life easier. But he put on a show called the Pan Man Concert, right? And I want to salute to him because this youth man they say Carnival have a different kind of energy. Joshua Regrello have a different kind of energy. And I will talk about that show as well as Pan together, because Pan seemed to be one of the more contentious things, right? I am a boys on the Alternative podcast the other day. Pan is one of them controversial things, right? We can't seem to figure out exactly what to do with Pan and how to promote it and how to put Pan on the pedestal that it should be on. But I want to put it out there that when I saw Tony Chowlin on his Instagram refer to this as well, talking about always having support for Joshua Regrello because of what he's doing. and how Joshua Regrello is one of the people who changing the perception of pan and how pan is presented, and by doing a show like that, because he not only playing pan to say playing like an instrumental version of songs that we know as they do with pan, but incorporating it, as you heard there between Irfan Alves and Pretty. Joshua Regrello was amazing as part of the performance, not as just an instrumentalist or a background person, or you know what I mean, like me playing a little guitar behind there. He was lead with the people who were out there and opening the show with that. And one of the things that Tony Chowlinon said that was important was that Joshua that is changing the way young people see, appreciate, and accept pan as a form of entertainment. I think it's a powerful statement coming from somebody like him particularly, right? And he said, listen, you will always have my support. So I was glad to see that the show was on and that the show was successful. I'm hoping, again, for old people like myself, that more of Carnival becomes more shows like these. The only one that I didn't catch a glimpse of, and you're not dealing with online, right? Is if it's online, I see the whole thing. But I wasn't sure if Trick and Al had put their performance online. They probably shouldn't if you're doing a play like that. Because that's one of those things as well that, you remember when we used to have Raymond Chukong, rest in peace to Raymond Chukong, doing plays throughout the course of the year, like those shows on 6 times. I wonder how come a band like Trick and Al or a group like Trick and Al wouldn't put on a show like that outside of Carnival, different times a year. Is it that we just don't support these things? Is that the case? If we still not in a trend big, oh well, when it's Carnival, we go to Carnival shows and outside. Like it's Lent now, and I have heavy Calypso to play in this episode. And you remember long day I couldn't play Calypso during Lent. But is it that those shows don't do well outside of the Carnival season? Because I don't see how you could put on a production like Yuma puts on, or like Trick and Al typically puts on, and it'd be a failure outside of Carnival. I think anybody would want to come and see that. And I also didn't get a chance to see the Rhythm Nation. Imagine I postponed the thing so I could go to these events so I could talk about it. I ain't going to damn way. But from the little clips I see, when Caesar's Army put on a Rhythm Nation, which is basically a musical, I think the theme of it was Amoko Jambi trying to find his legs or learn to walk. I wonder if it is that we just don't support shows like these outside of Carnival. Or imagine you put on a show and you say, listen, this is in honor of Destra. We honoring Destra and giving her flowers while she's here and while she's able to understand what the flowers are that come into her and so on. Instead of continuously doing this after somebody gone or they're here, but they didn't understand what happening around them. We like that as part of our culture too. I wonder if that's just something that we do support outside of Carnival. Food for thought, right? But salute to Joshua Regrello for putting on this show, mate. And these youths have some things figured out in all. Again, when you look at put it as Voice, Second Star, Pretty, Irfan Alves, I'm missing somebody inside there. Somebody missing. But they have a group of them who do concerts or shows. And them and support each other's shows. So you see the same set of performers coming back through. Along with some other, if you want to call them seasoned people, I guess, like Bungie and Fayan support these shows a lot of the times. You will see Iwer in their shows. You will see Nadia Batson a lot with Lyrical. So they have a little bit of a movement going on. And I think what we're lucky to witness here is another shift in what fete culture really is, because I always talk about the shift from when we used to wear old clothes to go fete. We're not used to now. You had to wear old clothes to go fete because you don't want to end up in a PSA in nothing like what Destra was wearing. The Destra looking a regal as usual, but Destra has some heels. Even the performers didn't used to dress like that when you come to perform in PSA or Spectrum or Carnival City. It was a whole different world. And then slowly but surely, the fetes start to shift away from that type of big fete where it's one huge event on a night. So you could tell you that Customs Boys used to be on a Wednesday, and then Over the Hill Boys was Tuesday, and they could have give you the rundown, whereas now you don't see it as much. And you're seeing plenty more small events. While they still have big events, there are plenty more small events around it. And then more cooler type fete and all-inclusive fete and breakfast party. So we live through one evolution, or maybe a few evolutions of what fetting is and what the fetting space looks like. And I think we're living through and seeing another one, because while should I say what we should do? We should start a bad talk the pods from now. What do you want to do? What do I talk about? The Taste of Carnival, which was heavily built around the idea of pods and separation. I want to say it fall apart fast. Salute to Gypsy and all involved. But that Taste of Carnival turned into a whole lot of carnival. And I hope all you understand my point. I've been trying to make a point over the last few weeks about money being in the hands of private enterprises and taxpayers' dollars going towards facilitation. When you have people who putting on shows like these at this level, you have a young fella like Joshua Regrello putting on a show at that level, or Yuma putting on a whole production, Caesar's Army, Chinese Laundry and Hoppy and them doing a production in Five Islands. Oh, that was not production, in Five Islands. Why is the government trying to put on events to compete? Because at the end of the day, it's competing. Whether you like Calypso or you like Soca, you have a finite amount of money when months end come and you have to decide what you're doing with that money. How much of my money is going to go towards entertainment? And if I only have $500 to go to entertainment, it means I could go to one show. So if I have $500 to go to entertainment and the government putting on a show, and I spend $350 on that, I only have $150 left to spend on private enterprises and people who spending the money trying to make money, who not doing it for the sake of doing it. Like I always say, box drain in this country had nothing to do with water, Box drain in this country had to do with who had to collect when you give the box drain contract. This is known, right? So a part of what the government doing is putting on shows to make sure that they put a little money in Calypsonians' pockets and so on. I have no issue with the government trying to, let's assume, I don't buy it yet, but let's assume that Calypso is unprofitable. Nobody wants to pay to see it, nobody wants to hear it, or stick fighting, or limbo, or any part of our culture, or moko jumbies, or whatsoever the thing might be. And I don't buy it, but let's just assume that they are unprofitable. Nobody don't want to do it, so the government uses taxpayers' dollars now to make sure that those things are not lost, because private enterprise not interested in things that are unprofitable. In the main, right, they go do some charity work, they will do some preservation type work and so on, but in the main, a profitable enterprise, a private company must make every effort to remain profitable, because if you're not profitable, even the charity work that you do will come to end and it will fall apart. Make sense? So my thing is this: if you see in Calypso dying, I would think that the best thing for me to do, I'm going to call that squad in Yuma, I'm going to call that squad in Caesar's Army, I'm going to call that squad in Scorch, Udinakin and them, or the tribe people, who again all you want to call. I call in Calypsonians, I call in what you would call stakeholders in a normal business conversation, right? And I'm bringing them together and I'm saying, all you hear what's going on. You see Calypso, we need to preserve that for our global competitiveness, for our identity, for our culture, for the youth who would not have known what it is. So when I hear Zandoli say, a old stick player named Joe Pringle, let him stick to play. If you want to preserve stories like those and say, all right, I need these things to continue throughout the culture. I agree with the government taking some of my taxpayers' dollar and put it towards that. But I do agree with them putting on a show themselves. You know give me a fish, feed me for a while. I always go again. I ain't so big biblical, Give me a fish, feed me for a while. Give me a fishing license, feed me for a lifetime. That's how it's go. So if you bring the people here together, because if Yuma could do this with this audience and these performers, what making us feel that they can't do it with Calypsonians at this level? So in other words, I bring any money to the table, yes, but I want to support the effort to put Calypso music back on the forefront. Or Jules Sobian could make up a musical about whatever he wants to make a musical about. Is he money and he putting on his show? How come he choose Moko Jumbies? If Moko Jumbi is an unprofitable thing and it can't make no money and the thing, and so we had to put on Moko Jumbi competition to see who could walk the tallest, and whoever make the tallest Moko Jumbi and you step clean over the Savannah stage, you win. That's what we're doing with the gems of our culture. While people paying, I want you to go on Calypso Rose Instagram, right? She is Soca Rose, She's not Soca Rose, she's not Raga Soca Rose or Chutney Soca Rose, she's Calypso Rose. Never change her name, I watch her Instagram and watch the response when she said that she pushing back her toe because she not feeling well. Watch where the respondents come. Only know only like to macro Instagram when only a man like a picture. Only go to see who the thing is the man like. Only know only like to do this kind of thing. Or, you know, a girl following somebody, you're going in the man DMs now to find ways you see. Just always macro that. I want to let go and macro who is following Calypso Rose. Who are the people commenting? Get well sick thing. I love this song. This song changed my life. I'll watch that. And then tell me the songs that they're commenting about. The songs is hardcore Kaiso and Calypso. Same chord structure, same delivery. It's Calypso Rose. You understand where I'm coming from? So if we believe that these things should be preserved, my take is just let's go about preserving it a different way because the pods, all you watch the pods? I don't know if all you watch the scene with the pods, right? They had some pod events where the pod themselves look very lonely. It had some very lonely pods. Some pods was isolated. I don't know if some of the pods had COVID, so they had to isolate and quarantine far away from the other pods, right? But they had some events where it was a super spreader event. And any other time of year, we'd call it a super spreader event, right? And I want you to look at who were the people promoting the boat shows. Was it the government? Was it Pantrinbago? When I say the government, I mean Pantrinbago, Tuco, NCC, all these institutions. Were they the people promoting the events themselves? Or did they have private promoters doing it? And the thing about this is, I'm not saying a private promoter can't throw a fet and loss. You know? A man Jules could throw that event and nobody come and he lost money. But that is on him. He had to now figure out how to innovate, how to get better. How do I, and you know how this get better? You know how the best is remain the best? And unfortunately, every time I come here talking about 5 different people, I'm going to say Ronnie and Caro, Yuma, Tribe, the fantasy people to that extent. If I want to talk about promoters, I always talk about a handful. Why is that? Because in private businesses, innovate or die. If you don't figure out what your masqueraders want or what your fet goers want or what your patrons want, you're not going to be around for long. So I'll give you an example, right? One of the biggest fets that had in recent times was Private Ryan. And I keep saying that, no knock to anybody or anything like that. And if you like that, you go. Don't study me. I just tell you about me as an old man. I used to like Private Ryan. I think the dress up part, although I don't dress up, but I like to be in an environment where I find like people dress up to a theme. I'm not so good at them things. You guys only remember I had to go to event the morning of the event and then I had to go to Tent City and try and find clothes looking like a Chinese theme or whatever the hell the thing was, a 70s. All of a sudden I'm in drag mall looking for some 70s outfit. So it don't always work for me, but I like being in it because, you know, it's kind of like immersive. It's a vibe when you're there and everybody dressed up and everybody come for that event and stuff. But there are some elements of that fet that they just don't appeal to me anymore. And I'm not saying that to say it will be unsuccessful. I am not the people. I am just a person. When I went there last time and they gave me them little cup, I don't feel sick already. It's hell to get drunk. The cup could only hold about a fifth of liquor. It's a little 50. Ain't not all. And then I had to walk through thousands of people to go back by the bar. And I just didn't enjoy it at all. And sorry, I'm not going back to that fet. Whereas for me, if I had to take, because that fet might be $1,000. I can't remember how much for it, but that is one of them $1,000 fets, right? If I'm not mistaken, or plenty money. And when I look at Rise and Rose, as I always talk about here, I spend at $250, $350, wherever they charge me. And I go in that because it's a cooler fet, my liquor rider. And I could drink my liquor in front, man, and I go about. I could walk with my own cup. I could walk with a cup big so and full it with white oak. Nobody can tell me nothing and measure, no drink and give me, you know. I find it's a different experience, and that experience works for me. When I go breakfasts, well, breakfasts bring a different level. They always talk about, there's Carrie people who talk about the amount of value they give to patrons, right? And one of the things I saw that they have changed in there, although I didn't see them do any virtual events or any concert type events. I think that's a new name for these things now. But when they have breakfasts, for instance, I see last year, they say, hey, what's going on? Breakfasts is all-inclusive. But we're giving you 3 different options. You could pay and drink by the normal bar. You could pay this price and drink by a premium bar and drink champagne all night. Or you could pay this and walk with your cooler and have your liquor in front of you. This is what businesses do. Businesses have to try to figure out what to do. So while we as the government, right, could take taxpayers' dollars and wait until end of January to say, we having a Taste of Carnival and this is what the Taste of Carnival will look like, and we go our pods and we have this and we have that and we'll sing extempo in the pod and hype everybody up and then do a set of empty show. While they could afford to do that, the private promoter cannot afford to sit down there and do that. The private promoter had to figure out, okay, I might not be able to make a bunch of money this year, but I have to keep my name alive. I can't just let it be that next carnival, if it's 3 carnival down the road, I starting from scratch. And I don't have nothing, and I don't have no name, and if I was a soca artist, I had to find a hit song or a band, I had to promote, spend a bunch of marketing dollars to try to get my name back out there and so on, right? So you would find that the private people again, the promoters, the mass people, the soca artists and so on, have been doing things over the last few years. They do virtual. I had to assume that Kes didn't do a concert type show or virtual event because I know, rest in peace, I know they lost the musical director. I think it was late last year. If it's not late last year, it's early this year, Rameshwar, right? So salute and rest in peace to him. That would be a hard loss. And I have to think that if you're going to do a show, like a virtual show, which I will say that of all the performers and artists, Kes puts on one of the best virtual shows I've ever seen. Or even hybrid shows where it is you have some people sitting down in SoundForge, but you also have people who pay in the 10 US or the 20 US from abroad to watch the show and watch the production. He does an excellent job at doing that, but I have to think that when you're conceptualizing that or you're putting down the groundwork for it, I don't think your musical director is a key element of that. Because Kes didn't do it by himself, Kes bring out people. I remember in particular when they bring out Baron and so on. I think you would need a lot of help from your musical director in how to fuse Baron into your performance, make the whole thing smooth and all those types of things. So I'd assume that is why they didn't put on a show. But again, he's not going to just do nothing. Because when you do nothing, you get nothing. When the government do nothing, they still get taxpayers' dollars. It's beautiful. If anybody have a guaranteed income, is the people who in the treasury, that money coming in, well, from most of us, we pay our taxes and so on, right? When we order things online, we pay 7% and things always underreport what we order and so on. I don't know. I ain't sure. But the point I'm making is they could afford to put on shows. I find it, and again, it is no knock on the show in the end, because I came here last week and I talked in depth about the Calypso Fiesta version of the show that was in Naparima Bowl. I think it was excellent. It was great. I want to salute to them again. This is NCC or Tuco, or the combination of the two, for putting on what was a real good Dimanche Gras. And again, I'm going back to this. Maybe we have a better show on our hands if the competition element is not the main element of the Dimanche Gras. And hear me out on this, right? What they did in the Dimanche Gras this year was they take a combination of newer artists. I wonder if Yuma do Dimanche Gras too. Or? They take a combination of the newest Calypsonians with some of the more seasoned Calypsonians and the hit makers of the 70s and 80s and so on, and they bring them together to do so. Using an example, they had Aaron Duncan there doing a current song while they had Scrunter doing Woman on the Bass and so on. I like that type of a show because, all right, let's assume, let me go back to 1986. Yeah, let me not go back to 1986. Let me keep this thing current, right? Let me use Ding Dong as an example, right? For the past 3 or 4 years, Ding Dong have a hit song. It is undoubtedly a hit. He is undoubtedly a hit, and he's undoubtedly a star. Ding Dong is a performer, whether you put him in front of a little thing with 6-7 people where he taking shot in somebody's yard, it look like he just taking a shot and performing, or he on a big stage with Iwer George laughing about how he can't catch his breath. Ding Dong is a star, right? And keep in mind that Ding Dong would be on tour with Fian and Bungie and so on. So I don't know. I guess you're continuing to learn in a situation like that. So by the time you hold a mic and take a stage, you have a different level of stage presence, and the guy just lovable, right? Put it like that. When Ding Dong have this hit in 2022, let me say if you cannot handle the people from leave it alone, use that as an example, right? And then they have competitions next year. And those competitions helping determine how much you get booked for the year after that and so on. Because there's a big part of your performing calendar is competitions. This is the issue. The competitions being judged by judges. When the judges say who they want, who they think, and who they pick, and you get left behind, you had to figure out a way to make another hit next year of equal or greater value for you to remain relevant. Otherwise, you fall off. And you had to struggle even more the year after because everybody done forget who's you. You're not in no fets, your song now on the radio and so on. And then all of a sudden you was a artist who was bad and you used to be real bad and Zan used to come with song and now Zan don't bring nothing. Just using Zan as an example, right? I feel like competition fuels that disposable nature of our music. How a hit song is a hit song. It don't matter the genre you're in, right? When a song is a hit, you could listen to that song 100 times. People touring on songs that they make in the 60s and the 70s. People on tour with them songs, right? So when you have a showcase in the way that the Dimanche Gras was done this year, where you could select different artists, select different people, bring them together, two things happen there. Number one, you're giving consideration for your paying audience, because I always say that government shows have nothing to do with the audience, while private shows have everything to do with the audience. So when a man like Chinese laundry, and I want to take back everything I say about Chinese laundry. I say Aqua was gonna bust. I say it was busting, but it was busting. You know what I mean? So I take back everything I say. It looked like you was lost in the touch, but you have it. So when you have somebody like him who doing Aqua, right? The first thing he's take on, or let's say they take the podcast time to sound like a marketing class, right? Well, let me go all the way marketing class. The first thing you have to take into consideration is the person who you're trying to get to buy from you. What is the attitude? What they look like? What they like? What they watch TV? Which part they be? And once I understand what that person is, then you start to look at creating a product for that person. But in between them two places, one of the things that we tell marketing students all the time is you cannot ignore the environment. So you have to do what you used to call a micro-environmental analysis. Well, let's say do a SWOT. Strengths, weakness, opportunity, and threat. If you never hear about it, look it up, right? But you do an analysis of the environment. And you know, remember PESTEL? When last I went to school. PESTEL, your political, economic, social, technological, environmental, and legal. That's how I say economic somewhere in there too. Environment, right? Your PESTEL or PESTEL, people say. So when you're looking at the show, you say, all right, here was the scene. These are my patrons. This is who I'm trying to attract. Because what I realized in the end was I was feeling like I wanted to go the Aqua, but then I realized in the end the Aqua wasn't for me. I used to go and sit down in Yuma show and Jules and them show. I used to sit down. Because I used not to be in no water with nobody. Because me had no discretion when I drink, and my cooler would end up in the water, underwater. All my drinks would be floating. I would come home sick the next day if I went up in that. So I was not the, what we call a target audience for Aqua, I do assume, right? So when they take it in, they will say, all right, well, this is my patron. This is what they think. This is how we're going to get him. This is how we're going to get him money out of their pocket. It's the hard part in marketing, right? How are you going to get somebody to pay for something? What they're going to do next is look at the environment. They will say, all right, here what's going on. We're in an environment now where they have a global pandemic. Some people are afraid. Some people not coming out at all. Liquor license is a problem to get. So I don't know how we getting people to the drinks and how we doing this. Cooler Fete might be encouraged because of XYZ. We need to be able to have enough space for people to separate so that we could fulfill the government requirements and so on. Remember, the government was part of that pestle too, right? Political part, right? So they will look at the whole environment and say, okay, I have to serve my would-be customer, but I had to do it well in the context of the environment. Otherwise, I could end up like school. I mean, in trouble if you don't take into consideration what is the environment, right? You can end up in problems. So I had to navigate that, and I had to say, okay, I could only do 50% in this venue. Can I put on the same show and charge people double so I make my money? Or do I have to adjust the scale of my show? Do I have to negotiate with my suppliers? What it is I had to do? I don't go out there and say, all right, only bill pod, and then I find out a 15 million instead of 35, and I say, hey, what's going on here? We get 1.5. Build the same pod. It's really not going to work that way. So think of what the Dimanche Gras and those shows do. They start by considering themselves. In marketing, we used to call it internally focused. They have what you used to call a product orientation. So I don't think it have anybody in the country more passionate about pan than Pan Trinbago. But pan itself cannot be the focus of the event when you're trying to get people to pay to come to the event, or you're trying to get the event to you're trying to get the instrument to bridge gaps and bridge generations. You cannot focus on the pan itself. I'm not saying take your focus over the pan, but from a marketing standpoint, you have to start by understanding your audience. You have to move on to understanding your environment and then work on a product that you're going to give to that audience in this current environment. This turning into a lecture real fast. This is the most boring Listen, one day we will go back to just talking about things, right? Because I don't know when this turned into a lecture so much. But I tell you, the people movement, the junior Regrellos, it's Joshua, right? Joshua Regrello's movement, because he clearly understands his audience. He clearly understands the environment. And I don't want to take him in isolation, because they have a youth man named Chuckery as well. I know I said that right, Chuckery. And the piano girl, which is his sister. Two of them named Chuckery, right? They understand their audience, and they're adjusting their product as they go along to satisfy the audience that they're trying to satisfy. So by design, if you keep focusing on who you want your audience to be, and you keep focusing on what the environment is, because the thing about it is the environment impacts your audience as well and your ability to deliver to this audience. If you keep focusing on that, your product is going to evolve on its own. It have to evolve. It must move if you have to continue to satisfy this audience. But if you only focus on the product, you will be spending all your energy trying to keep this thing traditional, and all your energy will be going towards not changing it at all. I hope all you hear, man. I hope all you understand where I'm coming from. Because all the efforts in Calypso, there's going to not changing it at all. All you hear it here. We had an interview with Mr. Shaq where he was saying that the judge is looking for a particular chord structure, a particular way of singing, a particular look, a particular style. The man say he don't have none of them things. But who could tell me he's not one of the greats when it comes to Calypso? Listen to his song I played a couple episodes ago. This is what Shadow was getting fight with in his 70s, where they're saying he ain't good enough. Go back and Shadow have a song called Judges in Hell. Go and look for that, right? I can't play that now, right? Because I don't have too much thing to play already. But when you look for Judges in Hell and you hear a man like Shadow, who is obviously one of the greatest Calypsonians to ever live, or soca artist, or whatever you want to call him, he complaining about Judges, one of the greats. You understand? And we fast forward to 50 years, 60 years down the road, and we still having that same conversation. It is because the stakeholders is the Carnival, the Calypso, the Steel Pan, and other things. They are focused on the product itself, and that is why there's an effort there to keep certain judges, certain commentators. Even when you hear, I always find in Calypso, Monarch, and Dimanche Gras, I find the commentators is kind of judges too. Oh, you find so? When I say watch a Dimanche Gras, King and Queen of the Bands competition, I find them come like judges in their own way too, because when the Calypsonian come off, they're doing an analysis of the Calypso, and them themselves very, very traditional in the way that they think and the way that they critique and so on. So if you continue focusing on the product itself, you will be blinded, because your consumer will change and your environment will change, and you wouldn't know. You're internally focused, you're focused on yourself. And you will always go on what your judgment is of what is better or what will work. And if the audience don't agree with you, you go bust. Let me give you one example before I move on, right? You remember, and as I talk about the Dimanche Gras, I want to take a minute to just salute as well the King and Queen of Carnival 2022. I'm glad to have a King and Queen of Carnival 2022 in Joseph Lewis and Chanel Campbell Brizan. Congratulations to both of y'all on the King and Queen of Carnival. I think it's an important tradition that we should always maintain, a King and Queen of Carnival. Only see, I strain a little bit back, but only watch this thing the other day with Queen Elizabeth. So sorry to hear she get COVID and thing and she went in. And somehow Jason Lee on Hollywood Unlocked is the man who reported that she died. I really find it strange when Hollywood Unlocked is the first and only place to report that the Queen died. And of course, it wasn't true, right? She's still alive and kicking, you know what I mean? But it was just an odd thing. But how I get here? Oh no, I'm talking about King and Queen of Carnival. One of the things Jason Lee had said was that he's sorry and so on. He was excited to break the story and they had a trusted source, but he would never do anything to disparage the Queen because the Queen is who she is and so on. Me and that monarchy. I don't believe in that monarchy. The Calypso monarch more important to me than the British monarch. But the tradition of a king and queen and carnival and a reigning monarch, I feel is one of the things that we should preserve forever. However it changed, however it evolved, that's something we should always have. So salute to Joseph Lewis and Chanel Campbell Brizan once again. Let me give you my example right before I cut out of this. Stag, for those of us who would remember, and if you remember, you're all like the hills, your knees hurting, you have back pain, you have herniated disc, you have sacroiliitis, you have all kind of arthritis, and any kind of arthritis that have, you suffering with that, your elbow, you have gout. You have all the issues that has come along with old age, you had that, right? But if you remember, Stag used to have a commercial back in the day. Where's Stag tagline? Stag tagline is a man's beer, right? That has been the case for as long as I can remember. No, it used to be Recession Fighter, remember? It used to be Recession Fighter. But when Stag was the Recession Fighter, it was a man's beer. The definition of a man changed over the years, actually. The definition of a man continuously evolving. So this is the thing, right? When Stag had in the 80s for a man, you know what Stag had? Stag had a fella riding a horse on a beach. Salute to Nile Blackman. We hope you get well fast, right? I hope you're okay. But Stag had a man riding a horse on a beach with a spear in his hand. Bareback. Hairy. The whole chest is here. With a headband like a warrior riding down a beach. Stag, a man's bear. Stag. Remember that? No, this is the thing about understanding your audience and understanding the environment. In 1980s, that was appealing to a man. That was the definition of a man, a warrior, a man on a horse. Here, man, I know here in the chest I get, you know what waxing money I spend. I don't want to hear nowhere. All the way here is supposed to grow, white grow, and all the way white grow, it ain't growing. So the definition of a man changed. That ad now cannot appeal to this modern day man. You understand what I'm telling you? So you had to continuously evolve. The Stag itself might be the same Stag you was drinking since in the 80s. But if you was a man's beer and you trying to appeal to men between the age of 18 and let me say 55, that's your core audience, or maybe even younger than that, you had to understand how that group changes maybe every decade. How that group changes when prices going up. When rum price changing and scotch price changing and people traveling more and the environment changing and you could drink a beer in a fat belly. So you could drink a beer in the water in Aqua, but you can't drink a beer in the water in Maracas. You have to understand these changes and how these things go along. So that's all I have to say about the marketing part. What other events I missed? I want to salute to, I don't remember if I did this last week, but I want to salute to Voice because Voice is a genius. Voice had, all of us saw the clips from Voice event, right? That way the thing started, that when you realize the pods, it's not no pods at all. It's no pods at all. It's FET mode. So Voice, this is what I like about Voice, right? Again, global pandemic. I don't want no taxpayers' dollars coming in. I had to figure out my business and figure out how I can make money and put food on the table, right? And Voice, Penny, Travis, Salty and Hakeem, and now DJ Elon as an addition to that team. Them fellas form a little squad and start to do a Voice Thursday night live. The live went out into all different, at some point it was concert, where you have Voice in concert, you have Salty in concert. I will never forget one of the nights when we was real locked down. You couldn't really, I can't remember if it had curfew, but everywhere was closed and had nothing to do, so you're home. And Salty was performing bareback on a rooftop, boy. Listen, it's one of the greatest things. Salty a catalog, you know. Salty's a star, you know. And then Yuma go honor Salty. Yuma, next year, Salty is the man who should honor and get a trophy. But anyway, Salty, they do this until it went into talent show where people coming on and sing, people coming on and dance. It was an interview show at one time. I remember them interviewing Machel, they interview Farmer. They just keep the live going, right? And I spoke about this last year when they turned that live. Well, first they converted into something when Digicel came on as a sponsor and so on. So now you're starting to get commercial success from it. You're entertaining thousands of people on Instagram live every Thursday night. And you turn that into a tour with selling out every single date. I would say based on that same work that they put in that live every week. They show up all the time. Too late for people like me, right? If you want, but then again, I ain't target audience. I want to know, right? So them had to come in my hours. They had to come in the hours of their audience. But notice that without much fanfare, Voice seemed to, at least if we had to judge from the patrons that were there, an enormously successful Voice show. enormously successful. They say all the pods were sold out. People seem to be having a time in the pods. All the performers pass through and go through. So salute to Voice. That show was excellent. All the other artists who put on shows, I want to salute to them as well, so that we get a genuine taste of Carnival, right? I mean, of course, it will always be determined by the people. Again, the people is the target audience in this case. And I also want to take a minute to salute my Carnival hero, my favorite soca artist of all time. In my eyes, the greatest soca artist of all time, Mr. Neil Iwer George. The greatest to ever do it. No, honestly, Iwer Wednesday is the boss every single year. Take a whole global pandemic for Iwer to sell out a show, but he sell out a show. Iwer Wednesday used to be the butt of the joke all about it, but Iwer sell out his show. So I watching this show. This is after Voice. This is the next event that was mayhem in the savannah and in the pod. And two things stood out to me, right? The show was completely sold out. There was all hell break loose. Nobody looking like no separateness, because I feel like the ushers and the stewards who was there responsible for separating, I feel like they must jam in the patrons too. That's how I feel, like how I see. So I didn't know what show it was, but I assume it was either Voice, Second Star, Pre-D. I thought it was one of the youths, but especially when I see the audience was really young. I find from the little glimpses I see, not knowing is the old Neil. It's the George who put on a show and destroy the savannah, as he always does. Imagine you ain't got a chance to climb up on no truck to sing your road march and push your song this year, but you sell out the savannah and had one, what, at least from what I see, it looked to be one of the bigger events for the whole Carnival. So salute to Iwer George. I hope that you continue with that level of success in his shows, and I hope that you continue to do shows like that throughout the Carnival. I eager to see more things like that, man, because I was talking about this last week, when talking to Iwer the other day, him saying, boy, I only get a chance to run on stage and run off. I could only sing my this year's song. The music, same thing I saying, the music disposable. And he's saying, I don't know when I will get a chance to sing song like think it over, pa-pa-da-da, think it again, oh melado, think it over. You remember that song? That song was directed to, that was a little riff between he and Raj Shorty, yeah? Where Raj Shorty used to comment on a lot of the things happening in the culture, as he should, you know what I mean? And Iwer was basically answering it to me in the way that he should, to a legend like that. Well, from a legend to a legend. Saying, you know what I mean? You had to respect Iwer and you had to respect my music and thing, and so said, so done. So, salute, and I want to leave all with this one, boy. As is normally tradition on, what is it, Ash Tuesday? What is it called today? Ash Tuesday. A man asked me yesterday, he said, if it's no Carnival, it's still a Lent. But as is tradition on Ash Tuesday, I'll listen to this one for me.
Descending, the moon is approaching, and the crowd is gone. It seems like nobody is interested to carry on. Well, this time is like a wooden shack after a storm. Not a band nor a mass is around to perform. All I can see is some broken old bottles so far. An indication the Carnival is over. that music that sounded so terrific? I would like to know. The sweet, sweet saxophone, the pan and the trombone and so. What is wrong? Like the tourists and all disappear. Not a clown nor a buck can be seen anywhere. Can't hear the sound of a drum or a bass, a guitar. An indication.
A taste of carnival is over. Listen, man. Now listen, it's hard to go from these types of topics which bring you so much joy and tears. As my son is saying, my son can say tears of joy, he said joy of tears. We had to go into a topic that is bring real tears. A moment of silence for them fellows who pass away in that pipeline, man. One of the hardest stories to talk about, right? So we all saw the issue. I think there's going to be an ongoing issue. For those of you who don't know, and might be abroad, we had a situation over the weekend while the carnival going on and everybody having a time and thing. And we's a country when we in carnival mode, nothing can bother we, but this one bother everybody. And it was a story with some divers, 5 of them, who apparently get sucked into a pipe. Now, a whole set of things going on about a thing called Delta P or a certain amount of pressure coming through the pipe. None of this confirmed, very little confirmed to be honest, except that when they found out what was happening and they found out that the fellows was sucked in. Now, I'm giving you this story as it unfolds for me, right? Because I am ignorant of what happened out there, and I know we have people who listening to this who are from that world of oil and gas and might know more about these things. So forgive my ignorance. But I hearing this thing and thinking people stuck in a pipeline. They say the pipeline is 3 feet in diameter. So I think to myself, all right, you have enough space there, you know what I mean? Because in my mind, you're lying down in a pipeline. Just ignorance, really. And the story goes where, to be honest, I think the story started to come out when the families gathered down at Paria compound. And little by little, the media, social media, along with the media, start covering it. And it didn't seem to be given a lot of priority by the media arm of Paria Fuel, if you ask me. Because I would think if I have an incident, I can tell you this, if I have an incident anywhere near this in my company, you'll hear from me fast. Of course, we are a small company and all that, right? But when the family was complaining about it, a big part of what the family was saying is 2 things. Number 1, earlier we stand up outside in the element under a bus shed outside of the compound when we know our loved ones stuck in a pipe down there. That is failure. I don't understand how that was allowed to happen and how it was allowed to continue. Not just continue for long enough, but continue till the end where they were moving the bodies off the compound. Then people get held outside that compound throughout. I don't know what people thinking. And then one of the guys who was there also, when they got in contact, another guy who was a diver, organized a crew, organized equipment, and went down to save the guys. Managed to save one person. Thank God he's still alive. And the guy came up and told him, listen, your father right behind me in the pipe. Basically giving them a rundown of what going on and what happened, basically. That, one man badly injured, somebody stay back with him, the rest of them crawling, coming through or whatsoever. Listen, this is surreal to me that this was a thing. And this is the thing, right? The more of the story that comes out seems to be the less that we know. Because at the end of the day, if you're doing diving and underwater welding, these things listed as some of the most dangerous jobs. So, in my opinion, when you're doing a dangerous job, all kind of outcomes could happen. But because we know of several scenarios that could happen, including Delta P, which seem to be a known thing in the industry, that there's a possibility that it could happen. There's a lot of precaution that needs to and should be taken to protect human life. Now, by the time I recorded, now you're hearing stories about Paria as a company and the safety measures that they do or do not comply with, or the equipment that people should have that they may not have. And you're hearing about the private contractor that these guys used to work for, and the equipment that they have access to and been asking for and so on. You're seeing one man wife talking about begging him not to continue or not to go back. And it's so strange because regardless of what the circumstances are, I feel we lost sight of the main thing here, where 4 people in the end ended up passing away. One person went through an extremely traumatic ordeal, but still alive. And I'm not understanding how the response from Paria has been so... the words I want to use is matter of fact, right? And the reason I say matter of fact is because, as I always say on this podcast, you see when people pass away, it ain't much more you could say than rest in peace. There's nothing that could be done to talk about safety regulation and pipeline and who thing and who went in and who was in first and why they didn't dive back. And the guy who was doing the diving down there talking with well, of course, Philip Alexander, and he say you can't beat Philip Alexander for that. One thing, wherever happened, he could be there early, whatever you think about him. But of course, the government had to come in, and this I find that such a waste of time. But when you look at the guy who talking about him going down there and saving the other one, and the others could be saved, but he's saying that they basically told them that they cannot go back in because of the health and safety regulations, and the Coast Guard was there preventing them from going back in. Sad. He had to live with that for the rest of his life, especially when I find out that the next person in line to be saved, as far as he knew, was his father. Rough. But when circumstances are as tragic as that, how come we end up politicking and this and that? And fast forward to the story now, I seeing more posts on Facebook. So a guy who was on this podcast with me, you hear me talk about him a lot, a partner of mine named Pablo. I see Pablo and put that one of my nephews is stuck in the pipeline. I know Pablo working offshore, but Pablo diver. So little by little, I get to understand who the person is, and it's one of Pablo's uncles, a fellow named Verr. It's Verr's son then, who would have been Yusuf Henry. So it's a different reality when it hits home, and of course, I'm not putting myself in the position of his family or his father. Rest in peace and condolences. So, extreme amount of condolences and love to his family and so on, especially when I know that just recently Pablo was telling me Verr lost 2 of his sons. Early in December, one of his sons died. The oldest one died. I think he had a little battle with he had some health issues and he passed away. And then 2 weeks later, his other son was a policeman who I see this man recently. I just went in the airport late last year to drop Stacy in the airport. Stacy was traveling, and me and Zachary said, who I can see walking through the airport is Pablo. My old partner Pablo living in Dominican Republic and just come through the airport here to go well, he must be staying here for a day down by Verr and themselves, and heading back out on the boat to go to work. And when I see him walking with a fella, you know what I mean, tell me they Verr son, you know what I mean, the first time I ever meet the fella was in full police uniform and things. So I only find out 2 weeks after his elder brother died, he passed away from COVID in December there. And then I see now, this story with Yusuf in this pipeline, and rough. I can't imagine what that would be like for a father. I think it's just last week or week before I was talking here about parents having to bury children. I know maybe I shouldn't talk about none of these things now, but I just talk about the Kaiso and the Soka and thing. But boy, listen, Maha reached out to Verr. I see him doing a couple interviews. He do an interview outside by the port. According to Pablo says the first time he ever see Verr cry. Verr is a hard man, Verr is a man I know living is a gardener and he's dealing with it. You know what I mean? Verr is a man's man. Stag, a man's beard. That's Verr from back in the day. And to see him break down like that outside the forensic center was another sad sight. And to hear him talk. And I mean, if you know Verr well enough, you know that Verr's talking parables. You know what I mean? So I wasn't surprised. Even in his, what would be to me one of the darkest moments of your life, if they could get any darker than losing your 2 sons, and you lose the oldest, you lose the second oldest, now you lose your last son, and all just you and your daughter now. It's crazy. he able to take that moment to say, listen, Trinidad, we like too much of separation. You know what I mean? If we continue to live separate like this, and this how Verr is talking. Verr say, the rain fall on my house today, it could fall on all your house tomorrow. We had to come together. And it's such a simple thing to hear him say a multi-million-dollar company who somebody was doing work for there couldn't even send out a case of water for the family and to have the family outside. Now, I will say that for companies, especially very large companies, you want to keep an eye on the entire situation because you hire an independent contractor to do this from what I understand. And if they did something that would have caused an issue on your compound, on your equipment, you'd have liability issues there that you had to deal with. And you had to be careful of what you do and what you say and all that because of liability. I appreciate that. I understand that. But I think that this is why you have communications people. This is why very large companies, what are we doing? Going back into marketing again? This is why very large companies are well advised to have what we used to call PR people. A long time we used to say you have a PRO, a public relations officer or something, you know. Now we have communications departments because people have to take precaution in how they word things like this because it's what we would call a delicate situation. You say the wrong thing, you accept liability for a situation that you shouldn't. You say the wrong thing, you offend a family and loved ones when they just lost somebody or dealing with losing somebody. Your health and safety regulations say this, you enforce it, you're wicked. Your HSE regulations say this, you let relax and you go and you tell him, all right, you go ahead and dive now. You save one, go ahead and dive to the second one. We had the equipment on the way. And then he gets sucked in, then you give him a directive to go on. So it is a delicate situation, but we must never lose sight of the fact that you lost 4 people, lives. That's what we all here for. The livelihood is about life. What we doing jobs for if it's not about life and our loved ones? And so much stories coming about the individuality of these situations, the uniqueness of these people who we lost in this pipeline. And there's a no-win situation. And I feel like if the company I was watching the police trying to disperse this family, like, what did all you had to shoot me? Just put yourself in that position now where your son down in a pipeline 60 feet under the water due to some error, whatever went wrong. And I can't dive, so I can't even dive in the water and help my son. I want to be on that water's edge, boy. I want my foot in the water. I know it don't make no sense, but I want to be in the water. I want to be there. So when you lock me out a gate now, anything, regardless, you might have your issues and your protocols and all those things, but it must look like a cover-up. And that is the narrative that being pushed now, is a cover-up and is this and is that. I don't know what it is, and I'm sure more will continue to unfold about this story, but I just want to take a moment to say rest in peace to everybody involved, condolences to the families, and special love going out to my guy Verr, boy. Not an easy time at all for anybody to be good. And, you know, I can't help but think, this don't make sense either, right? So forgive me for saying it, but I had to say it. You know, somehow in my mind, under Petrotrin, I don't know if the name Paria itself, if that has to change or something, but I feel like under Petrotrin, the whole company was more personable. It feels like more real people you're dealing with. I don't know if it's just me feeling this way. I don't want to use words like blight, like the name Paria, blight. I'm stopping short of doing that, but when it was Petrotrin, it just felt, not that Petrotrin didn't have issues, but it feel like it's real people and a real company and a genuine compound that genuinely caring for people. And more with Paria, because these are the first accidents we're hearing about. And I mean, something about Paria, it's alright. There's always some kind of scandal or some kind of thing. So who knows? You might see a name change coming soon. It's just like box drain. I say box drain and nothing to do with water. Sometimes in this world with taxpayers' dollars, sometimes you change a name and his contract running and them kind of thing. Yeah, but all in all, rest in peace to everybody involved. Condolences to all the families. Rough thing. Now, in terms of putting people in a bad position, like I feel like the Paria management put the communications department in a bad position when the communications department should be there to put them in a good position. I think they also put the security and police in a bad position by sending them to disperse families and all that's crazy. I also feel like over the last weekend, I feel the police get put in a bad position too. Because I don't understand how the police was sent to break up juves. Only see how much juve they break up. They break up a juve in a Rima. I think they arrest 45 people. I see Enterprise. It sounds like Sonny Bling, the breaking up a juve and running everybody home. And I was driving out Monday morning, I see some people coming out of Enterprise fully paint up in a car. Them was go extra board. We had we Juve, we had we tick. And the the best one was Maloney, because inside a Maloney building they built two pod. No separation intended. They just built two pod like two boxing ring and it looked like they was gonna have fit. And they said the fed started 11. On set a police show up the 11 o'clock. The people in the buildings pointing camera and them and laughing. Now where are they going? All you know anybody's reach anyway. I don't know if they get the yes or what. I don't know if they went ahead and had the event, but it puts them in a bad position when they had to do all this breaking up of other juves while people seeing heavy fat in the Iowa. And yeah, I was supposed to talk about Young Brother. I just wanted to, I know the carnival is over, right? But I just want to salute to Young Brother. Young Brother is mashing up stage shows. I like that. I'll give youths a chance to let youths live. Let them sing all their nonsense, let them sing all their violence, let them sing all their highly charged sex music and thing. And just remember that one day they could be calling Carol Jacob on a stage with all the reverence in the world. You just have to let them evolve. Not to say don't talk to them, but don't condemn them. Talk to them. Tell them, hey, boy, this violence and music and thing. Tell them that. But don't half kill them. Remember, I always say think it over. Think it over with these youths too, because they say the teacher don't appear until the student ready, right? I want to say the teachers only appear when the student ready. So they will change. Remember, I was using Swappy as an example, how Swappy well tapped into the roots of his genre. Young Brother will get it too, but and you know what I like about it in particular? I didn't know anything about him before Instagram lockdowns and thing either. When he was in a home, in a house, it looked like the house was crude, the walls and them barely plaster. And he and that youth Hottie DJing, young brother singing, and it's have a next man who just going so. He just bouncing. Wherever them sing, he bouncing. And I don't know if you call he a hype man. Call them Chuck D and Flavor Flav. Be you know what you want to call him. But that hype man is I hope the hype man's still with him. But when I see him on Voice Show and an Iwer show, and you know what I mean, the man doing shows in the carnival, I feel good. When you see a man move from that, and I hear his story, I want to salute if I remember the name of the radio, that would be good. I know Keegs and them have a show on it, and what's the rapper man name again? Names is a problem right now. Chromatics. Chromatics. I know Chromatics and them have a show, and they were interviewing Young Brother. And he was on the show saying basically that he I can't remember what he said the nickname was they gave him, because he only had one pair of shoes or something like that, or one outfit. He said he used to wear the same outfit everywhere he go in, and they give him a nickname based on that, And he said Hottie was the only friend. Hottie is the one who picked him up as a DJ and said, nah, come, let we go. You know what I mean? Those study who laughing at you, maybe give him little clothes and things to wear, and tell him to keep coming out in the dance, just to make sure that he, you know what I mean? The boy feeling good. So, boy, I'm so glad to see them. I see them in Guyana the other day. They was in England the other day. And now in the carnival, they're mashing up shows. I like to see that. I like to see that kind of progress. Let people get through in life, yes. And I want to see the next time I see him, and he and Hottie, if they ever go back to that stage where they're DJing and chanting together, I want to see them in a big house, a big nice spread with a nice little studio in the house, churning out hits. That's all we need. So salute to Young Brother coming out there and making the thing happen, man. Another artist that I had to talk about, and this is outside of the context of the carnival as well, is Machel Augustus Mervyn Montano. Now, I see something on the people YouTube saying some kind of fair use thing, but I'm frightened. I don't want to go and play the thing. But again, I wanted to go back. It's all over his Instagram and everything, and you probably see it by now, where they had Maha Shivratri and Machel, Sadh Guru. If you're following Sadh Guru on Instagram, if you know who he is basically, I don't know what to call him. I don't want to give him no name. I was going to say he's a yogi. That's the best I could come up with. I probably wrong like hell about that. But he on Instagram a lot, and I believe I played something from him on this podcast before. But he seems to be a very popular yogi. Wherever the word is the right word for him, just replace it every time I say yogi, right? Don't make me wrong, right? Just correct me as I go along, right? Work with me. But Machel was invited. They had overnight, of course, the Maha Shivratri, a big part of it is staying up the whole night, and several about some meditation and baths, and it's a ritual, right? A religious festival. I saw somebody in the papers kind of make it a parallel between that and Lent in terms of a period of introducing a period of fasting. And Machel was invited for they had a festival behind it. And listen, the show was good because first I saw, that was another reason we delayed too. I wanted to see that before I come and talk here. They had said initially that it was going to be, or maybe I read that wrong. I thought they said 6:30 a.m. It was really 6:30 p.m. because there's at least 12 hours the festival going for, right? There's several performances, as meditation, as chants, and so on. There's a lot going on in the show. And it was a huge show. That looked like a couple 100,000 people to me in person. And on the YouTube live, at any given time, there are 150,000 people for 12 hours. Now, sure, they come and go, but when you add up that, there's probably millions of people who watch that on YouTube with people coming in and out and so on. And they had several performers. Sadhguru is amazing in terms of his level of energy because, man, like me, I would have been sleeping. I couldn't have that energy. You could see him, as much as the crowd was really, really responsive, he was trying to kind of give each performer some energy in a way. You know what I mean? He was always up there, and it's a massive stage, some massive structures, and a huge amount of people. And our very own Machel Montano and Marge Blackman went up there to be a part of that process, and it was just nice to see. And it really happened as well in the context of me looking at Carnival and looking at Voice and looking at Iwer and thinking to myself, a good thing Machel didn't do no pods. Because if Machel had come out and say he was doing any kind of show for this Carnival, all the pods mash up. Every pod would have been destroyed. I don't think it would be a good idea for Machel to be a part of that. But a part of me also was thinking for Machel, he could have come down from the hills and give you a little thing. If I don't remember last year, if I remember right, I should say last year, Ojo, salute to Ojo for all the breakfast party and Mother Drive parties that they had. It was real good with the performers. And there's another space where I see, even though it's a mini show and it's virtual, artists getting to go through more of their catalog. I kind of like to see that, you know what I mean? But while I'm thinking that and I'm wondering how Machel and getting me a little taste, is that Taste of Carnival and we can't get a little taste of Machel. I remember what carnivals used to be like without Machel. And this is something else that really encouraging, because these youths holding this space. I say it a song like this, old man only talking about these youths. The artists of today holding this space. Because there are a few Carnival without Machel that was real depressing. I don't know if people remember when Machel had signed something with VP Records or one of them and he couldn't perform. But Machel was completely out of this Carnival, and I don't want to go as far as to say he wasn't missed, right? To say like we wouldn't have loved to see a little bit of Machel, but it wasn't like because shows didn't have Machel, people didn't come out and people didn't have a good time. I'm telling you, the time when Machel stayed away from Carnival a few times, people wasn't enjoying themselves the same way in Fets and thing, you know what I mean? And it had a few years when he come back to, he wasn't back to who Machel is yet. So we wasn't enjoying it fully. But he was invited there, and we went along with Marge Blackman. And they both both did a soil that was in, what you call it, dedication, to touch the soil, which is, save soil. Of course, I could get it wrong. The name of the song is Touch the Ground. It's Machel Montano, Marge Blackman, and Private Ryan. And it's on the Save Soil rhythm in support of the Save the Soil movement. Apparently, we run out of soil in the next generation. I run out of soil. I didn't know none of this. Apparently, we run out of soil. How you run out of soil? I confused and I don't know. I thought soil. I thought it's just a soil. But apparently we're running out of soil. And Sadhguru starting a movement where I think he's riding around the world. Is it 30 days or 6 months? He going to ride a motorbike real far to promote this Save the Soil movement. I probably have all this wrong now. I was just glad to see Machel performing. I was glad when it come out. Imagine still. There's the presence of a man, you know. They went up, and he went up there with Marge Blackman, telling as he does. You know, I started this episode about talking about Yuma making a connection between today, or what we have, and what we always had, right? And Machel take his time to do that, because on a stage like that, I feel good for him too, because Machel also has been on a spiritual journey for a long time, if you're following him, right? But on a stage like that, he makes sure to come and say, listen, I am Machel Montano. I am from Trinidad and Tobago. My first time performing in India. The music of my people. Or you say Trinidad and Tobago, which is the Caribbean, which you might know as the West Indies. Well, they ball out when they're West Indies because cricket, you know what I mean? Even though we're not great. Well, we're great. Let me not put no negativity in this. We're great, right? But when you say West Indies, people ball out. You say, oh, you know the West Indies. You say, right. You say, well, this is my music. What I'm going to do is soca music. And the music is invented by a man named Raj Shorty Eye. He didn't bong to do that. He didn't bong to make that connection. But he said Raj Shorty Eye is who invent this music. And I want you to appreciate how, what to say, spiritual it is that Machel is on a stage like that, for a festival like that, in a setting like that. When you think of who Raj Shorty Eye was, not necessarily when he was inventing soca music or in Drani and all them things, but where he ended up in terms of his own spirituality and the journey that he was seeking. You get me? Just like Sadhguru, you know? And he was recognized in that space in front of so much people. With Machel, who now on any stage on a Carnival Tuesday, Machel is the biggest thing happening. He's a giant. But on that particular stage, he's a newbie. You're performing in front of people who might not know you or know your music. And you take that little bit of a minute there to explain who you are, explain why you're there, explain what you're doing. Also to go as far as to say, I'm doing this song with Marge Blackman, who is the daughter of Raj Shorty Eye. You know what I mean? And they performed the song together. And boy, it was nice to see Marge Blackman there too. Royalty in our culture, you know what I mean? And it was just, I don't know what's the word I'm looking for, but so I'm going to continue saying spiritual till I find the word. But Machel still perform on a Carnival Tuesday, boy. Something else, boy. It's almost like there's no escape from these things, you know. Machel still end up there now, because when I see him, I really see him make a post about save the soil and thing. I was a little bit confused because I was like, well, the soil needs saving now. Is everything we have to save it? We got to run out of everything on this earth. If I remember the water and the ozone and thing, but now it's the soil. I can't believe it. But when I see him posting that, I say, oh God, we are no more soca to get. It's a rap on all soca music from Machel if we go on to save the soil on Instagram. But little did I know there's a collaboration that being done between him and Marge Blackman. And then support to save the soil, because he and his wife had a long whole thing with the changing sign and the soil running out and you need soil to plant things and all these things. And he came out with this song. Now, he also did I Just Want to Dance With You. And again, this is why I talk more about the disposable music. I want you to keep in mind what age that song is. That song has some good age, you know. I just want to dance with you. A party over here now. But the song, just think of it. You go and check what year that song is. And that's the song he chose to perform. And I can't remember the other song. I think it's On My Way. On My Way, On My Way, On My Way. I believe so. I think so. Along with the song with Marge Blackman. And another song he opened with that I didn't know. But both those songs are very, very old. But the On My Way always had that kind of a spiritual vibe. No? You don't find so? So if you ever see him perform it in Machel Monday or anywhere he was performing, it's a matter of fact, it leave a vibe with you. That's the best way I could put it, right? They have a spirituality to that song itself. So he chose two good songs. And a salute to the crowd at the Maha Shivratri too, because I think at the time Machel went on, these people would have been awake for a long time, right? And they give him back real energy. I don't know if they know any of them songs. I doubt they know the Dance With You. But then people get up and they dance, and Sadhguru come up and take a little dance with them and take. That was just special for me to see, but that was just knowing that there's a certain amount of connection there. Knowing that it's Carnival Tuesday here, we have a little taste of Carnival. And people like Jules and them and Yuma and people, Joshua Regrello, people putting on shows. And yet still Machel, as one of the, if you want to call him a guru in the art form, still managed to be a part of it in his own way. And we get to see him perform a few songs. And just like I talk about Raj Shorty being on a spiritual journey, we see Machel being on a spiritual journey for a long time. I remember coming off of what was, it's not the HD band, you know, it's coming off of the, you remember when he had the marching band and thing? I can't remember what they used to call that now, boy. I can't remember, but there was a year he was performing with a full marching band. I think his experience, Machel Montano, or the ecstatic experience, something so. that was one of the most epic carnivals I had. Machel was coming to that full marching band on stage. I remember Paw Puff and Bubbles and the girls and Paw Puff girls. That was all them time. And listen, Machel is loose like goose. But slowly but surely, you started to see him change in terms of the messaging in his music. And the way he would perform, you know, he's a whiner boy. And you started to see, well, I guess, as I say, arthritis, osteoporosis, sacroiliitis, and all the other itis. You can go whine the same way you used to whine before. But also, as you saw him evolve, you saw the music evolve itself. And there was one time, I remember Machel used to wear something like a rap skirt. Now, to me, in my unevolved way, it used to look like a rap skirt to me. And he used to wrap up his head like a bobo. I remember them days. I know it's not a rap skirt, right? But it looked like a rap skirt. And it was strange for us to see because it felt at that time like we was losing. When I say we losing Machel, I mean we losing the carnival looseness that we love so much in Machel. And you saw slowly but surely he moving towards the bobo shanty and the rap skirt thing, and he moving away from it, and the type of music he was singing started to change. So, for instance, there was a song that he did. Let's say people know my girl is pretty. I know what is pretty, because pretty is skin deep and ugly is skin deep. How they look on the inside and they don't know the inside or something. So, she's my Cinderella and I want you to know because I love my girl and my girl love me and I don't care what nobody. I remember him saying in an interview that was one of the songs he sang at one of the lowest points in his life. I was going to say suicidal, but I don't remember if he said that, so I don't want to say it. But he said it was one of the lowest points in his life, and he didn't want to sing anymore. He didn't love it. He didn't want to do it anymore. And I heard him say that when he was in that state, Shadow at the time came and basically pick him up and say, "Boy, you mean too much to we. You can't do that, this and that and the other." And he gave him that song. So when you listen to that song, right, listen to what they say. And if you didn't know this before, listen to it like if Shadow singing it. And you could hear it's a Shadow song. That's the typical kind of thing and style that Shadow is singing. And he said that Shadow wrote that song and gave it to him to sing. So it was one of those things where you could see the spirituality of his journey when he was talking about that in the interview. And there's there's a video as well going around in an ashram where Machel was singing "We Not Giving Up," which to me is one of Machel's best songs, right? We not giving up. Oh, however it's go. We not. In the night we pray, and in the day we play. And we turn away, and we not giving up, no matter what nobody say. Listen, in tongue when them singing, we not giving up. I jamming people, and I looking for a bumper. We not giving up. That my speed rider. So that's one of my favorite Machel songs. Until I saw him, there's a video going around some years ago where he was already well into this particular journey that he on now, and he was singing "We Not Giving Up" in an ashram, and he said again that was one of the lowest points he was at in his life. And he was in the hotel room not wanting to come out. He didn't want to perform and he didn't want to sing. And imagine that for a minute, right? When you are the pinnacle, that like he called himself, right? Or people call him. You have a huge catalog. You're self-actualizing, hence the word pinnacle. And you're in the element. You're in demand. You're getting as much money as you want for the thing that you love doing. And what again you could want out of life. And he's unhappy. He depressed. He don't want to go out on stage. And he said that he kind of remember that the hotel had a Bible. And he take out the Bible and he hold the Bible. And he say, God just give me a sign. And I think when he said that, it sounded to me like if he asking God, listen, give me a sign as to if I should continue doing this thing or if I should just come out and follow you. That's what it sound like to me. I don't know what he say, but that's what it sound like to me. And he say he just opened the Bible on a random page. And the page he opened it on, strange enough, right? The page he opened it on was a story about Lot, right? And he say Lot and his wife was leaving Sodom and Gomorrah, I believe it was. And when they look and Lot wife, all of them leave, which he tell them to come out of it. And when Lot wife turned back, she turned into a pillar of salt. Remember that story? Now think about this, right? If I on top of my thing. I see whining king, soca king, revelry king, and all those things. And I look at spirituality calling me. And I hold a Bible and I say, show my sign, and I open it. And I see the story about Lot. I don't know if you ever went Sunday school, but from the time I see that story, I would have seen me singing this again. And not singing no more soca. Before I turn into a pillar of salt on me. You understand? So it just goes to show, like, this is why you had to hear from artists, they, like, interviews and things. It's so important when we could hear their point of view, because he just said that before he performed the song and almost say it in passing, but I was thinking, like, that could have been the end of Machel catalog at that moment if he read that differently. But he said that caused him to write the song We Not Giving Up. So he was basically saying that the sign he got when he opened that was, listen, we're not giving up. We're continuing to go. We're continuing on our journey. And that journey for him is clearly going down the road of spirituality. So I'm happy for him about that. But also giving us music at a different level, with a different message and so on. So salute to him. And the Save the Soils movement, is great to see March Blackman there as well. And it had so much artists on the day that he only gave about, he performed 4 songs basically. But if you do get a chance, go and look for that thing. Just, I think, put in YouTube Machel Ashram, you might find the video with the We Not Giving Up. Because it is the best version of that song ever. It make me sorry. Me and the man going through all that, like in the jam people, it make me sorry I was whining low for that song. It wasn't no song to whine low to. Not the man at the lowest point. Well, he was at his lowest point and he sang the song and I went to my lowest point. So I guess it's all fair. No, but there was a guy there who was playing a guitar and singing along with him, because they use it for meditation as well, right? So you throw in a chant in there as well. But listen, it is the best version of that song I have ever heard. That fella voice, the guy who was playing the guitar, I wish I knew his name. There was somebody playing a guitar, a couple of instruments. And his voice is so... Boy, listen, he and Machel voice blend so well, and with the chant in the middle of it and so on, it was just an excellent version. So salute, we get a little piece of Machel during the time, and I'm going to take a moment too for my Hindu and Yogi brethren and sistren who celebrating Maha Shivratri. Enjoy their celebration. To my Christian brethren and sistren who celebrating Lent, whatever they're giving up and whatever sacrifices we're making for these festivals, I wish you all the best. Keep in mind the people who suffering during this time, you know what I mean? As much as we enjoy the carnival and we enjoy the taste of it, and we're going to enjoy the Lent and all the festivals that we're going into, or the seasons that we're going into, remember that both Lent and Maha Shivratri both rooted in a certain amount of reflection of self, you know what I mean? Both festivals have to do with a certain amount of inward looking. I don't want to go as far as saying isolation. As a matter of fact, I think COVID done, based on what I see last week, so it had no more isolation. I'm going to never use the word isolate again, but the both festivals have a lot to do with, getting into yourself very, very deeply, and both of them have a lot of sacrifice involved in honoring those festivals. So, am I using the word right? Lent is a festival? Those periods, right? I'm a religious man and all that. I work with me here, But there's a lot of reverence and self-reflection going into both religious periods. So I hope you get through it, whatever you choose to sacrifice, and keep those in mind of us who going through hard times. Remember my guy Verr words, right? Verr said the rain fall on his house today, but the rain could fall on we house tomorrow. It's such a true statement. And he said, listen, if we continue to live separate, all of us are going to die one by one. The man now lost his son, and that is the words that come out from his mouth. So I want you to keep in mind, just like how Machel split that Bible in two and find that story about Lot. In the most painful time, he remember all of us, At a time where he could be the most selfish that he could possibly be. Verr remember all of we, boy. Verr say, listen, togetherness is what we're looking forward to. So I'm leaving all with that. I ain't playing no song this week. Should I play a song? I have a song to play now. I have one song to play. I was going to end on that note, but I tell Ole I'm going to use Ole for guitar practice. I dedicate a song to some people, right? I have a few people in this podcast who traveling. Normally, these is people who be looking to come for Carnival, So since it was only a taste, like all of them decided they come in after Carnival. And the only reason I ain't calling all their name is because I know what's happening in Trinidad when people know people coming here. And I was singing this song. This to me is the best lyrical calypso ever to win a Monarch. After we talk all about competition, I'm going back to Monarch, right? But stick with me. It's the best lyrical calypso ever in a Monarch. And I tell Ole I need Ole's help with guitar practice, because usually I would just play this on the quattro and make life easy for myself. But I'll play it on guitar and see how it works out. So any kind of mistake and pause Ole here is fighting up with chords here. But this is by the great Krokro, the fourth King. And this is for the people I ain't calling all the name because all his suitcase done full and all they are overweight and all they paying for extra pieces in this COVID traveling. So let me see if this one work out. I swear to God, the next time I leaving, I ain't telling nobody nothing. I learned my lesson and I learn it well. Next time I go in, I ain't have nobody to tell. Because from the get-go, they hear Krokro leaving. Man, woman, and child, they keep bringing something. Like these people, they care about me. Is carry this and that for the family. Carry the 6 Panadol in case my big son sick. Carry this nice green parrot on this stick. See Gobin daughter, I can't forget her. Give she this few bottle of Cuchilla. The 6 dry coconut, carry it for granny. The pone in the foil is for Uncle Larry. And my little nephew, the one does play man. Don't forget to give him this 10 pan. They bring a greasy paper bag, pack up with roti, some diapers to get a little baby. Pastel, cuckoo, and chili baby. And a yoke you wouldn't get for a sharp TV. 6 suitcase I have now, your boy in rail train. They gone in the back to cut sugar cane. I telling you plain I can't take this train. Next time I go in, nobody ain't gonna know again. This carrying thing that's happen every time. Like these people feel I own the airline. Or they feel inside of the plane as have shelf. Or me ain't have nothing to carry for myself. My partner bring a half-cooked tattoo for Charlie. It fall on all the grease spill and it wet me. Now my pants looking just like if I pee. But here's some more the things the man gave to me. He said the chain with the pendant carry the gold cross. Carry them few little jar pepper sauce. Oh gosh, I just remember my wife say she want about 6 pack of gold and ray. I see a blue and yellow flower, the enamel posy. A bag full of bengies and ready and be. And when I tell them stop for heaven's sake, I see they bringing 2 fruitcake and coconut bake. I tell myself, oh God, these people will kill me. One asking if I could carry a little puppy. My whole aunt a bind, she started to beg. How will you please carry these few common fowl egg? I said New York have plenty fowl egg, you know. She said the egg and them all they are so much yellow. I telling you plain I can't take this train. Next time I go in, nobody ain't gonna know again. New York have everything, you must believe this. I don't know why they just send so much stupidness. And while I trying to get them to check their head, they pass to pay me tamarind ball and cassava bread. One brings shining bush, callaloo bush and kush kush. He gets in them thing anyway, down on flat bush, so I don't know who they sending them nonsense for. When all them thing kicking dog in Korean store, I box my fragile, they say crocodile afraid. Inside the box, some home sweet home lamp shade, some china, some tolam and roti skin, fine leaf thyme and shadow berry for seasoning. I see fretata and katanga water. They said I for Lord Nelson to Wakiobia, so from now on if I go in San Fernando, not one of my friends I go let them know. I say to myself, my friend them is trouble. One asking if I could carry a whole bicycle. One coming with some Matuks pepper sauce. And next one come with a big bottle of Seymour. Since I can't carry punching rum again for them fellas, they give me babash and they camouflage it with bitters. I'm telling you plain I can't take this train. Next time I go in, nobody ain't gonna know again. Like a cargo boat, I reach New York City. I distribute all the nonsense to everybody. And if you see how they happy they get this stuff. But some of them still saying, Crooks, you ain't bringing enough, but they still tell me thanks and they so glad I come, but asking me and smart when I going back down. These people so bold-faced, they wicked and slack. The same damn thing happen when I coming back. A Tefal pressure cooker, they say and a blender, a Osterizer and a coffee maker, 6 Nike sneakers, 2 Levi jeans and a Pyrex dish, a Jordan sneakers with shocks, they said I see latest, a bag with toiletries, a Nikon camera and some tall socks. Like if you're winter, don't bring back a whole front end for a panel van. They feel like TNT shipping all up a can. They bring a big boots, they say what's the brand name, boy you can get them kind of boots in Port of Spain, all kind of oil only to bleach their face, and a kind of contraption to make sandwich base. 6 big suitcase like a fool in front of the airport gate. They ain't give me 1 cent, was the pay overweight. So friend or no friend, I telling the plane, going or coming, nobody ain't gonna know again. And only go see me next week with all the heavy bags. Bye.